just a few minutes, we'll be motioning into a very important session of this program. We would listen to lessons from people, and the most immediate lesson will be on leadership. Most people say that the problems of our nation and the problems of the world arise from leadership. And if we can pick practical lessons from people who have succeeded in leading, then we can solve a lot of the problems. Mind you, this is a global conference, and much of the lessons we're receiving today are global-based. So you are not in the wrong place, you are in the right place. Let me just talk to you about that facilitator who will be talking to us about leadership. She is a partner in PwC based in Ghana, and she specializes in the advisory services focused on energy sector and helps energy clients solve their tax problems and manage their tax affairs efficiently. In addition to this, she holds leadership positions within PwC in the areas of corporate responsibility and diversity and inclusion. She's responsible for PwC's West Market area, that's Ghana, Nigeria, and Liberia. Energy leading, and she has the opportunity to organize and speak at a number of tax and regulatory focused forums in which has been held in Ghana, in the USA, and in Mozambique. She was also named as a finalist for Ghana for the Africa's Most Influential Women in Business and Government 2014, an award organized by CEO Communications of South Africa, and more recently, she was named one of Ghana's 20 influential business leaders under 40 by Ghana's Business World magazine in March 2015. In 2016, she was also named one of Ghana's 100 most influential women by the African Network of Entrepreneurs. Before I mention her name, can she receive another round of applause? Ladies and gentlemen, I have the personal honor and the singular privilege to invite to the stage Miss Ayesha Bedwei. Please give her another round of applause.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for making the time to be here. And thank you very much to Apex Consult. I mean, up until this point, I'm really impressed by what you've been able to organize here today. And I was just discussing with my colleague who I came here with today that some more established organizations could learn a thing or two from you. So well done. I think you deserve a round of applause. So I'm here to share some lessons from my leadership journey. As was mentioned, a tall list of accolades and things that I've even forgotten about, and sometimes I'm even surprised that I'm awarded. But I'm here today to share with you lessons that I've learned throughout my leadership journey, throughout my career, both personally and professionally. And I'm hoping that you can take some nuggets from what I'm going to share and apply them to your life. So maybe we can go to the next slide. Okay, so this is a timeline of my career, and there are some key moments that I'd like to share with you, things that occurred that made me pay attention and kind of realize certain key things that would shape who I am and what I was going to do. So I started my career in the UK. I went to school in Ghana at St. Mary's Secondary School in Accra for 7 years. Then we were writing O-levels and A-levels. And then I had the privilege to go to university in the UK. When I went to university, I studied economics because I had a love for economics. And I was advised by my career advisor to pursue the ACCA program and become a chartered accountant. Now, one of the things that I learned about myself, which is really important for all of us to pay attention to, is that you must know who you are. Now, knowing who you are is a really deep statement. It's not just knowing your name and knowing what you like to eat, knowing what you like to do, but it's about knowing who you really are. What are the things you like to do? What are the kind of projects you enjoy? What kind of people do you like being around? Okay, and I learned without a shadow of doubt that I don't like being around people who talk a lot. I don't like talking too much. I'm very measured in what I say. and I certainly can't stand being around people who talk way too much. Now, think about the implications of that. Think about being in the work environment, having to go to long meetings, which sometimes I have to go to, and sitting there, and some people are not getting to the point, and they're talking, and they're talking, and they're talking, and I have to resist sitting down, rolling my eyes, and just like, goodness, when is this going to be over? Okay? But knowing who you are, knowing what you like, knowing the fact that this is something that doesn't agree with you, will enable you adopt the behaviors you have to adopt to deal with those situations. Okay? So I can't just sit back and say, I don't like people who talk too much, and therefore I will ignore them when they're talking. No. Everybody has something to say which is important. You're going to work with different kinds of people, so you have to adopt a strategy to deal with that situation. So what I tend to do is, I have to be very present in a moment, focus on the individual, use all of my energy to listen to what they're saying, as painful as it may be. And trust me, sometimes it's very painful. But I have to make that effort because this is how life is. So it's really important to know who you are, to take time to be by yourself. Some people are afraid to be by themselves, but it's something that we have to learn to do, to be by yourself, learn who you are, learn what you like, learn the best environments you operate in, learn the kinds of projects you like to do. This will influence the direction your career will take. Okay, so lesson number 1 is knowing yourself. Aristotle, who was a famous scholar, said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Okay, so it's really important that we know ourselves. I'm going to ask you a question. How many of you are introverts? Show by hand. Myself included. Okay. What do you think, or what's your understanding of an introvert? I'm going to call somebody if nobody volunteers. What's your understanding of an introvert? Where are the introverts? Okay, lady with the purple head wrap. Okay, I'll repeat what she said. So she said, an introvert is someone who doesn't like being with people, is always quiet. That doesn't describe me, because I'm here with you, right? Okay, so that's a common misconception. An introvert is just somebody who, when they spend a lot of time with people, their energy is drained, so they need some time to be by themselves to recharge their batteries. And that's all it is. An extrovert, on the other hand, gets more energy from being around people. So for example, I'm here with you. I love speaking to you. It's really great. I'm happy to be here. But when I'm done, I'm drained. And when I go to my hotel room, I need about an hour by myself to just relax, appreciate what went on, then I'm okay. An extrovert will stand here, talk. When he's done with you, he's fired up to do some more talking because he gets energy from the crowd. And that's the difference. Okay, so know who you are, understand who you are, what you do, what you like. There's nothing wrong with being an introvert. It's one of the most misunderstood words, misunderstood phrases. It doesn't mean that you don't like people. It just means that being around people drains your energy sometimes, and you need some time on your own to recharge. So introverts, we are introverted and proud, right? Okay, good. So the next lesson that I learned is that creativity is really important. So in 2001, I found myself in a really great job in London, nice company, multinational. I was one of 12 financial accountants, beautiful building, gym in the building, free food in the cafeteria. From the outside, it was a dream job. But I wasn't happy because I felt that what I was doing was just number crunching. I was just putting numbers in Excel spreadsheets and doing all sorts of macros and writing all sorts of codes and generating reports for the board. And I just felt that I wasn't adding value. Okay, so you see on the presentation, if you can see, I've said number crunching is not my thing. I'm not a number cruncher. I like to feel that I'm adding value to the process. I like to feel I'm creating something new. Okay, so I resigned from that job after about a year because I just wasn't happy inside. So creativity is really important. We are human beings. God created us, and as such, we also feel the need to create. Whether what you're creating is art, or a new song, or a new way of doing something, or writing a book, whatever it is, we have an innate need to create something. And so I had to walk away from that job and find myself into something else where I felt satisfied and valued and felt I was actually adding to what people were receiving from me. So creativity is really important in the career that you choose, in the life that you lead. You should feel that you're adding value to somebody else's experience, okay? So as I've said, number crunching is not my thing. Never call me a number cruncher. Never think that because I'm an accountant, you say, oh, she's a bean counter. That'll just annoy me, okay? I'm not a number cruncher. It is not my thing. And I'm sure if you find yourself in a situation where you think you're just punching numbers and not doing anything of value, you'll probably feel the same. So creativity is key, it is important, and we must search for it in all that we do. Now, the third lesson I learned is that life is a continuous learning process. So once again, I found myself having finished university, having qualified as a chartered accountant. I was tired of studying. Does anybody know anything about writing ACCA papers? Okay. Back then, it was 14 papers. I don't know how many papers it is now, but it's a lot. And the likelihood that you will fail them, or some of them, is high. And the day that you fail, after never, ever having failed before in your life, and you fail a paper, you feel that the world has ended. Am I right? Good, we've all been there. So after going through that and qualifying, I thought, okay, I'm done with studying. But I found myself in a job in our profession where it's important that you know what's happening in the world, because things are always changing. Laws are changing. Fraud is occurring. Things are happening. You have to keep abreast. And honestly, I was lazy. I just felt, why should I keep reading about things? Why should I keep learning? I'm tired. But I learned a tough lesson through experiences at work that in order to stay relevant, in order to differentiate myself from the next person, I had to continuously learn, which meant I had to read The Economist, I had to go online, I had to be abreast of mergers and acquisitions, I had to know which clients could no longer be my clients because they had merged with another client. So it's unavoidable, you have to keep learning. So I had to just find a way to make it my passion, to find my medium of learning, which for me, I prefer to listen to things rather than to read them all the time. So whether it's podcasts, or whether it's YouTube videos, that is how I like to learn. So life is a continuous learning process. You have to learn professionally, you have to learn personally. There is no avoiding it. And if you make the choice not to learn, you'll be left behind by those who do. Okay, so we must continue to learn. We must continue to evolve and grow. That is how the world is. And if you're not growing, you're basically dead. That's how it is. So at that point, that's when I realized that it was time for me to specialize in my career. It was not enough for me to just be an accountant. I always say that there's nothing wrong with being an accountant. It's like being a general practitioner if you're a doctor. But I wanted to be a surgeon. Okay, so I decided to specialize in tax. So I did my research of the profession, and I realized that tax professionals are few and far between. As such, we get paid a lot of money. As such, we have a job in every country because guess what? Everybody in the world pays tax, correct? So who would they be looking for? Me. So I had to make that choice to do even some more studying to differentiate myself once again. So like I like to say, in the world of doctors, if we're comparing ourselves to the medical professions, my colleagues are the general practitioners. I am the brain surgeon. Okay, so if you want to be a brain surgeon, you need to continue evolving and learning. So that was my lesson number 3. So lesson number 4 was to identify problems and to solve them. So I always say that if my life was just about going to work every day and doing taxes for people, what would be the point? It's more than that. I am a problem solver. I'm just doing it through tax. I could be doing it through baking, by making my people happy by eating cake. I could be doing it through gardening, by making gardens look beautiful. At the end of the day, whichever medium I choose, I'm a problem solver. That's how I see myself, and I put smiles on the faces of my clients, and eventually myself as well. The world is full of problems. Pick the one you're going to solve and solve it. So there's a quote from Tim Robbins, who's an actor, who says, "Identify your problems, but give power and energy to your solutions." Okay, so identify the problem in the world you're going to solve and do your best to solve it to the best of your ability. Okay, are we still together? You're awake? Okay, I'll ask you some questions after. So lesson number 5 for me was being digitally savvy. Okay, it's non-negotiable. So that doesn't mean having a Facebook profile or having an Instagram account. That means that staying abreast with how things develop digitally. In my profession, now we are using robots to do tax returns. That is what is happening now. So how do we stay digitally on top of what is happening? I choose to share knowledge because, like I said, I'm a problem solver, and I'm also a teacher. That is my true calling. And so I'm sharing knowledge. How am I sharing knowledge? I choose to do that not only through my job that I do every day, but I write articles in the papers. As a result of writing those articles, I didn't even know that the tax authorities were reading my articles and chose to give me an award last month for being the tax media personality of 2016. I didn't even know there was such an award, but they said to me, "You are helping us educate the public about taxes." And for that, we are very appreciative. Now, these are people that I fight with all the time. I go to them and say, "You're charging my client too much tax." I argue, I fight, not serious fight, but professional fight. But they still felt that I was adding value to their work, to Ghana's economy, to the nation. So they gave me an award for that. I didn't do it for the award. I did it because I wanted personal fulfillment, and that came as a byproduct. So I do that through writing articles, as I said, both print and online, blogs, collaborations, documentaries, and so on. I'm here with my friend, Obi, who's walking around with a camera, and together we've done documentaries. He filmed the video that was played to you for coming here today. To make things more interesting, millennials, which you people are, like pictures, tweets, hashtags, and so on and so forth. So we need to keep with the times and disseminate information in a way that will be appreciated by the wider audience. So digital savviness is non-negotiable. You must move with the times. So my last lesson that I'll share with you, lesson number 6, is the need to have a vision. Helen Keller, who was blind, said, "The only thing worse than being blind is having sight with no vision." What is the vision for your life? The normal question, or the usual question people like to ask people in interviews is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? You must have a plan for your life, for all aspects of your life, and you must write it down. You must envision the kind of family life you want, the kind of husband you want, the kind of wife you want. What kind of home do you want to live in? Professionally, where do you want to be in 5 years' time? Where do you want to be in 10 years' time? You must write these down because it will help you work towards them, because everything is step by step. That doesn't mean that you cannot tweak them, okay? Nothing is static. But if you write them down, you'll be focused in what you need to do to achieve them. So you need to have vision. It's really important. Otherwise, you'll just be walking in the wind. You'll be blown over by anything that happens to you, okay? So that's lesson number 6. Now, do you think that my lessons or my journey is over for myself? It's not. There's so many other things that I want to do. Next slide, please. These are the possibilities I see for myself. A government advisory role. I think I can play a role advising some government institution, if not here, somewhere else. I want to create a PwC foundation where we can do our corporate responsibility in a more organized format. I may possibly be on the board of an educational institution. I've written it down. I don't know which one, but it will come to me. I possibly want to do some lecturing or teaching. I'm already doing that within my firm. So again, it will come to me. I want to have a magazine column. I've already submitted one article to African Business Magazine, which they have accepted, and I'm sure others will come my way. I want to do some podcasts and maybe a TV program, and I want to write a book as well. Within my firm, I want to start a PwC scholarship scheme to add to the schemes that Propel ED mentioned here. I want to have a wider responsibility for corporate responsibility. For now, I cover West Africa. I want to go for the whole of Africa. I want to develop PwC global training programs, and I want to mentor other partners. This is my plan. It may change, but at least I've written it down, and I'll work towards it. And the thing is that when you write these things down, you focus, suddenly the opportunities just come. They just come. I was approached to speak here. Before this, I was approached to speak to young accountants. That's where the guys saw or heard about me. And so one thing leads to another, okay? If you write it down, if you think about it, if you pray about it, suddenly your eyes open to all the opportunities. Someone speaks to you, you take that chance, one thing leads to another, okay? So, last slide, please. What is your journey going to be like? The famous philosopher Lao Tzu said, the journey of 1,000 miles starts or begins with one step. So you need to think about where you see yourself. You need to know who you are. You need to be creative. You need to know that life is a continuous learning process. You need to identify your problems and pick which one you are going to solve. You need to be digitally savvy, and you need to have vision, okay? You need to start your journey with just one step. It takes just one step. When are you going to take that step, and which way are you going to go? Thank you very much for listening. Now, I said I'll ask you questions. Or do you have any questions for me? Yes. Here you go.
Thank you very much, Ayesha. I think it's very inspiring of meeting you here today. My first time of meeting you was on the Natural Resource Taxation Conference at Conference Center, and I was inspired. I sent you a mail, you replied. Okay, and I had a lot of discussions on you with Bernard for almost about 3 years ago. And I said, look, I'm just a chartered tax accountant, and I'm interested, and I just want to do a PhD in natural resource taxation. Unfortunately, the University of Cape Coast failed me. They couldn't get me a supervisor to supervise my thesis on natural resource taxation.
That's a shame.
So I couldn't do my natural resource taxation. So now I'm still trying to push it from the other angle. My question is, do you think it is enough, looking at the current status of the taxation regime or the policies in terms of our natural resources, i.e. with the oil and gas sector now?
So the question is, do I think the regulations we have in place are adequate? You know what I think our issue is in Ghana? It's not that we don't have the laws and regulations. It's that we don't enforce them. That is what the problem is. If you go and look at the laws that we have laws for almost everything, but enforcement is not adequate. So I think that is where we need to focus, and we are hoping that this government will do that because they have a Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation. Because if we just monitor and enforce the laws that we have, we will reap more benefits than we are reaping. So I think the laws are actually adequate as they are. Of course, amendments do happen from time to time, but the framework is actually adequate. What we need is proper enforcement. Does that answer your question? Great. Any other question before I take my seat? Or I'm sure you can ask me questions later on the panel. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. You've been a great audience. Thank you.